Welcome to Upload Live. So glad you could be here. Join us, our first show in July. It seems like we have not been on the air for a long time. That's the bad news. The good news, training camp for the Tennessee Titans, less than 3 weeks away. How about that? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty exciting. I don't know what this is, but I don't know. Hopefully it's cheers. But no, I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. Don't forget to hit that like button. Tighten up that like button. Definitely helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new or just checking us out for the first time. We'd love to have you here on the channel. Sorry for being a little bit late today. Got a fun show planned for you guys. So one of my favorite things when covering just not only the Titans, but as I'm starting these NFL previews, shout out to Steven. What's going on? Keisha in the house. Sauce, David, Mason, Matt, Mark, Fireval, Peyton, Vince, Kent, Life of Devontae, Bald and Bearded, and Ryan. Thank you guys for all being here. And Matt is in the house. Again, the one thing I like to say is, like, for me as a fan of football, yes, the previews are fun. It's just going through every single game, picking a winner. I'll share all that later on throughout the month. But starting the previews and getting through all that, it's just, again, I say it's very important. Mr. Titan would agree with me. He said this. It's very important to know your opponent. And as we kind of break all this down, looking at the Titans, the one thing that's very intriguing to me is, yes, we know Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Bud Dupree in the defense, Kevin Byard. We already know that. They're going to be there. It's these camp battles, which is the title of today's show, that I'm the most intrigued with. Because on the surface, you're like, hey, the fourth wide receiver, the third tight end, the last pass rusher to make the team. Who's going to return kicks? Who's going to be the kicker? But are any of these guys going to make a major difference? And I'm going to say yes. I am going to argue yes. At some point during the season, push comes to shove, whether it's an injury, whether it's just someone fatigued and tired. I mean, how many times last year did Arthur Smith on a 3rd and short, maybe like a 3rd and 6, there was no A.J. Brown and no Corey Davis on the field? Like, that can't happen. I love Arthur Smith, but that's why it's very, very important that, the fourth wide receiver will get playing time. I'm going to argue the fourth wide receiver is probably going to be the one returning kicks. And that's going to be a huge part of this. So again, camp battle is very intriguing. Backup quarterback's not going to be a big deal until, if, knock on wood, Ryan Tannehill goes down, then sure, it's going to be a big deal. So again, maybe we don't have these guys on the roster. Maybe they just don't exist. Vrabel and John Robinson, after training camp and the rosters kind of settle, maybe they go out and get a veteran that gets released. Maybe there's this undrafted free agent. Maybe there's this player that had a rookie 6th, 7th round pick who's just excelled, and a team feels like they can save cap room and can save money by releasing a veteran. Maybe that's the best play for the Tennessee Titans. But I am very, very interested in your take from that. I do care. So definitely put that on the screen. Paul already mentioning Darrington is going to be the return man, the kick returner. And, he did some of that at App State. I'm going to argue it's going to be somebody different, but that's just for later on in the show. So here's kind of the idea. All right. We'll definitely get to your comments, so don't feel bad about that. Leave your comments, all that stuff. Titans Rossi will join me later on this evening. This is going to be quite a long show. I suspect this is going to be very, we're not going to all agree on this. I think we're going to be kind of all over the place when it comes to the bottom of the roster. Some of you may not even find any interest at all. Paul says Bush hates TikTok. His whole wide receiver core makes TikToks. That is definitely true. But we'll kind of play it out. And again, to make this fun, you definitely comment. I'll get your comments on the screen on, your answer to this. And we'll go from there. I mean, I got some information. I looked these guys up, but for the most part, I think it really just comes down to preference. I think it will come down to special teams. It will come down to what Vrabel thinks. You know, does Vrabel like these guys? We know Vrabel has kind of had a man crush on two guys over the last couple of years. And if you've, woke up under a rock or something, maybe you have no idea. But those two guys are Cam Batson and Logan Woodside. Now, does that still play into this? You'll have to wait and see, because I do have some takes on that. So let's dive into the show. I know a lot of people argue that, hey, it takes too long and I'm already running late. So let's dive right into this camp battles. I'll play them all out for you, and then we'll have plenty of time to get into some talk back and forth. You guys got anything on your mind, definitely say it. I did throw out a poll for one of them. Anytime we can mention Wyatt Ray on the show, we're going to do it. So Wyatt Ray or Roberson, which one would you keep? Obviously, I was thinking, like, if you didn't want to keep either one, we could go outside the box, but then I felt like majority of you would go that way. But so that's why I kind of deleted that option. So yeah, definitely, if you click on the video at some point, and then we'll show the results later on in the show. My son helped me out with that one. So let's kind of dive in this, and we'll put your comments on the screen, and let's get into this. Here we go. Here we go. No Steelers talk. This is A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Kevin Byard, Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, Jayon Brown. Give me that. Training camp less than 3 weeks away. I'm excited. You're excited. We're all excited here on the Titan Upload Network. So let's dive into this. So camp battles. I'll play it out. You pick one. We'll move on. We'll talk about it, obviously. I'll make my case, and then you guys can agree, disagree, and then go ahead and put your case on there as well. Thanks again for being here and being a part of this. So let's start right away. Camp battle number 1. Wyatt Ray versus Derek Roberson. And this is important, because what we know is the Titans are going to keep at least 3 pass rushers. I mean, last year you could argue we would only kept 2, the amount of playing time that Clowney and Harold Landry got. I mean, Landry is playing, as Ken Moore would say, 95% of the snaps, for crying out loud. It didn't help him. I mean, he only had like 5 sacks. So the theory is, if you play more, you'll get more sacks. That is definitely out the window. You cannot get more sacks if you are physically drained. And I think the way that Landry plays with that high motor, and Bud Dupree's kind of similar. Thank you for the thumbs down, by the way. I appreciate it. But if you guys could help me out with the tighten up, that would be great. Tighten up that like button. That definitely helps the channel. We're at 30 likes right now. Hopefully to get to 100. This is one of those bizarre times in July where the interest, we're 2 weeks. Some of you are taking vacations, you're doing all that kind of stuff. So more power to you. Just going over camp battles. Let's go. So we got Wyatt Ray on one end, Derek Roberson on the other. I guess you could say Skipper is another option, but I'm not throwing him on here right now. I think the last spot comes down to these two. So we know, obviously, Landry, Bud Dupree will make up 1 and 2. We're very, very intrigued. As Mr. Titan mentioned this, he got some information from someone who was in training camp that Weaver looks the part. Weaver looks like, as he said, or as what he was told, as a monster. And hopefully the whole legal thing will be okay. I mentioned, I think it's 2 days after the Jets. That should get all resolved. And I don't know how that's going to go. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Hopefully the truth comes out and he's said he's innocent, and hopefully it just plays out. And I mean, that's the hope. But regardless, Weaver's going to be a huge, huge part of this team. So he's going to I think he's going to get a lot of playing time at 3. The Titans would be dumb not to keep 4. And they would be dumb not to dress 4. Again, the Giants teams, I've mentioned this. It's like the show's sometimes repetitive with what I say, and I apologize, but it's true. The Giants Super Bowl runs, when they beat the Patriots with Eli Manning as quarterback, it wasn't necessarily because of Eli Manning. No shade thrown at Eli Manning whatsoever, but it wasn't like he was like he was throwing it all over the yard and stuff. That defensive line was the real deal. It was legit for the Giants. And they rotated guys out, and they consistently did that. The Titans, for 17-game schedule, Bud Dupree probably not going to play all 17 games. Harold Landry, honestly, he did way more than I thought he would last year. It seemed like that ankle's held up pretty well. I mean, he was able to finish the year, and he played a lot of snaps. I think this is going to be one of those things where, and again, let me know your comment. If you got to keep one, we're keeping 4. It comes down to Roberson and Wyatt. Which one you keeping? I'm on the surface, I'm like, it's Roberson. It's the easy answer for me. It's Roberson. I'm ready to move on. But here's the thing. Even though I like Roberson better, and even though Roberson actually has produced on the field more than Wyatt Ray, even Wyatt Ray had a sack against the Packers, but that's kind of like the only major thing Wyatt Ray's done in his career. The year before, he played for like 4 different teams. He didn't get on the field for any of those teams. Then the Titans picked him up. And give him credit, he kept fighting to the end, even though I kept bringing up like this solid depth piece that the press kept talking about. I didn't see it, but Wyatt Ray, he hung in there and he did a good job. He had more sacks than Clowney. So I kind of go back and forth. The issue with Roberson is injuries, and it's like he does show signs of athleticism. I know he's undrafted and that kind of plays into his character and on social media and stuff. And I'm rooting for him. I like him. I mean, he sacked Drew Brees, for crying out loud. I would go with Roberson just because I think there's going to be more upside. If he can stay healthy and put it together, he knows the system. He's been around forever. I think Vrabel can keep working with him. He could be your 4th solid so-called depth piece there. but Wyatt Ray, he's in the discussion. As of right now, I probably say 60 some percent, 60, I'll go with 60, that Roberson would get that last spot. But the Titans have kept Wyatt Ray around a long time. They could have got rid of him last year. They kind of kept him, even protected him sometimes on the practice squad. But I'm going to go with Roberson. So that's our first camp battle of the night. Can't wait to hear what you guys think. So let's go. Steven, Wyatt Ray. Does someone have those numbers of the poll, by the way, that you guys could share with me? Because I don't have my phone on me. Let's see. Josh said, I would love for the Titans to beat the Ravens in the AFC Championship. Fireval says, I know Wyatt Ray played at BC. Did he play with Landry? Honestly, I think he did, because most people that I talk to that actually analyze and do, like Broshmo, for example, like I love Broshmo and he does a fabulous job. And who knows, CBS should hire him, because I think CBS is looking for like a draft YouTube analyst type guy. And I think him and draft_Brian would be perfect for that job. Life of Devontae is going with Ray. And I am interested, like, if you guys say Wyatt Ray, then tell me why it's Wyatt Ray. Like, the only thing I got on Wyatt Ray is in the previews that I've kind of done on the Titans, I've wrapped that up, and that should be released Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, a lot of people just don't have too much praise for Wyatt Ray. There's a lot of people that don't even know who he is. Like, Broshmo kind of laughed at me when I brought him up. Draft_Brian, I mean, he didn't say too much. I mean, it's one of those things. If you see the upside, that we're going to get to some of these guys tonight, tight ends especially. There are some tight ends on this roster that have some upside, and you might be willing to throw a chance that way. I think wide receiver's another possibility. If you're going to keep 6, maybe you kind of, take a shot in the dark, right? I just don't know if Wyatt Ray is that guy, and I'm not ripping on him. I'm not. Kent Woods said 72% Roberson. Oh, that's what the poll says. Okay. And then 24. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate that. Fireval production is Y. I know Wyatt Ray played at BC. Okay. Let's see. Fireval said Roberson. Josh is going 15-2. Robert Derrick. Roberson odds favorite. If playable, Wyatt Ray has a chance. And to Robert's point, preseason, these guys didn't get a preseason last year. None of us could go to the practices. We were relying on the media. And by the end of the year, or the end of the preseason, which didn't happen, the end of training camp, really there were only what was it, Khalif Raymond, where everyone was super excited about. Other than that, there wasn't like, yeah, the Titans were expected to be, they made the AFC Championship, lost to the Chiefs. Could they rebound? They got Clowney. I mean, speculation was sky high. But as far as like how things worked out, I just don't remember like a lot of talk or like a lot of momentum in anyone other than really Khalif Raymond. He was the one that kind of got all the publicity out of training camp, all the videos and all that stuff. So they're going to get a chance in training camp this year, and they're going to get to play games, which is awesome. They only get 3. First one coming up August 13th in Atlanta. We might be there. We really are trying to get there. So we're gonna keep trying. But I think we're driving down. So if you guys are gonna be in Atlanta for that opening preseason game, you let me know. And yeah, I've never been to the Atlanta's new stadium. We're super pumped about it. It is a Friday, so Chick-fil-A in the stadium will be open. That's kind of cool. But anyways, who's Wyatt Ray again? Again, it's not a knock on Wyatt Ray. And from all of my battles that we're going to go over today, this one I don't think is the biggest deal because, to be quite frank, here's what I think ends up happening. Wyatt Ray, skipper, former Steeler, and then obviously Roberson. I think these guys will get a chance at camp. But I also think what's going to happen ultimately is they're going to keep, if something happens with Weaver, the legal trouble, I mean, if any of that kind of pops up, that's going to be trouble. But if Weaver and Bud Dupree and Harold Landry are healthy, I really don't see this as a huge issue because I think Weaver is going to get way more playing time this year. But the issue is going to be, I think, if these guys on the bottom aren't really, making a case to make the team, then I do think the Titans will go out and try to bring in maybe a veteran. There are still some really good veterans that are quite older, but they're still out there. I don't know how expensive they are. You can go back and look because it made its rounds on Twitter, and I got so pumped up. You guys can go back and watch my MCCANN versus Greg Joseph video. I went out and made my own kicks. The thing that frustrated me the most was we took one practice, and the local media just piled on Greg Joseph. I mean, they just kind of threw him out there like no chance, had an awful day, and everybody wrote him off. It was that point where I think the Titans may have even wrote him off. But remember the year before when we made it to the AFC Championship game, this guy made some 33-yard extra points, and he did what he needed to do. I know he didn't get a lot of chances to kick field goals, but still, for how bad the season was with field goal kickers, Greg Joseph came in, did not miss a kick. Granted, all of them pretty much were extra points, but still, you get my point. Well, Greg Joseph won a Super Bowl ring, I believe, with the Bucs last year. He's on their practice squad, and they protected him for a reason. And their other kicker, well, he was a Titan too. This one is interesting because I think McCann and Joseph went neck and neck, and I think one of them did deserve that spot, but they ended up going with Gostkowski, and that's fine. But it doesn't look like he's going to come save the day this year. And there's not a whole lot of options out there unless you want like Dan Bailey or something. So how do these two stack up? On the surface, many Titan fans are falling in love with Hallbill, the kicker from Ohio State. I mean, maybe you're in this room, you love him, and you're like, oh my goodness, he kicked a 55-yarder. I mean, he's at Ohio State. He made 146 for 146 and extra points. Keep in mind that extra points around the 19-20-yard line, not the 33-yard line. Big difference. But still, 146 for 146 is pretty cool. National championship game last year, we went over this. The sickness got him, or he didn't, or maybe he had somebody in the family or whatever. He was around, social distancing, whatever, close contact, and he was unable to play in the national championship game. Would it have mattered? Probably not. But I think where Hallbill gets his kind of, it's 61-yard kick, field goal kick when he was in high school. I believe he was 16 for 19 in his last season. I think I wrote this down. 13 for 15 in his last season, 2019 at Ohio State. 10 of 13, 2018. But I think he had a short season in last season because he was 5 of 7. So he didn't really kick a whole lot last year. But some of the knocks on him when we went over this, and maybe you don't think it's a big deal, I think it's a bigger deal than we make it out to be, is he just doesn't have the hang time. He doesn't have the drive on kickoffs. And let me tell you, last time I checked, Kern doesn't kick off. So one of these guys are going to have to kick off. Hallbill, that's a big concern for him. Could he get better? Sure. He could get better. But I do think that's an issue. We know Vrabel's in no rush. They'll play it out at training camp. But like I said, the drive there. The other issue is like 80% inside of 40. I mean, you would want him to be a little bit better, I think. Now, his opponent, Tucker McCann, was on the practice squad last year. The Titans at least did keep him around. Thank you so much for the super chat. I will get to that in a second. But I think McCann, for me, wins this. And he definitely has the edge right now because Hallbill did not participate in minicamp, I don't think. He did the rookie camp, and then something happened. He couldn't participate in the minicamp. I mean, that's a big deal. Titans are keeping him around to let him go compete with McCann. McCann's been through the battle last year with Greg Joseph, and he didn't shy away from it. McCann was 16 for 22 his last year at Missouri. But the difference between the two is McCann is more of a versatile, and versatility wins for the Titans with Vrabel. He can punt, he can kick off, and he can kick field goals. So McCann, for me, has the edge in that department. But like I said, he was on the practice squad last year. I am comfortable. He did pretty well competing against Greg Joseph. I mean, for crying out loud, up until the very end where both the guys didn't make it, they were kind of, back and forth. I think that competition last year, he's kind of more comfortable. Obviously, he's been with the Titans, even though he was with the practice squad. I think he will go out and he will be our kicker. Okay? And to be quite honest with you, I probably shouldn't say this on July 8th, 2021, but I'm okay with giving him the job. I am. And I think he wins it. Again, he had 3 kicks of 50-plus yards. Hallbill had 1 at Ohio State. So it is what it is. I'm going with McCann because of the versatility. What do you guys think? Camp battle number 2. Comic out in the house. Tighten up. Life of Devontae just got back from vacation. We kind of did as well. Where'd you go? Raven says, shorten the wide receiver room somewhere else. Pass rush depth is an idea. Suns in 5. You guys could let me know. We are up against the NBA. I was going to cancel last minute. Tony, what's going on? He says, great show. I'll be attending the first game in Nashville for the season opener against the Cardinals. What do you think of the outcome of that game will be? Well, thank you, Tony, for stopping by. And also, thank you for the super chat, man. I do really appreciate that. It definitely helps the channel. Honestly, the Cardinals game scares me because we never play well against Hopkins. Our secondary, completely new. Byard, the only returning starter that's actually going to be. We know Hooker got some playing time. I think Jenkins obviously playing in New Orleans. I mean, he'll be okay. I mean, I don't want him to be the number 1 by the end of the season, but he probably will be to start off. Now, there is some good news. We saw Caleb Farley post that, he's back to 100%. He'll be good. Now, I don't know if he does like to talk, but that's my guy. And you know what? I told you he was going to be the real deal, and that's why I was jumping up and down when we selected him. I was on him from the start. I know some other people they go with the popularity on Twitter, and it's fine. It is what it is. But like I said, if you have an opinion of a guy, don't get on the teeter-totter and go back and forth. Just you know what? If you're going to throw your opinion out there, then you know what? Stick with it. The Corey Davis stuff. Ugh. Anyways. But thanks again for the super chat. But I do think the Cardinals present some challenges because not only is it going to be our secondary that's going to get some experience in that game. We don't know what's going to happen with Christian Fulton and stuff like that. There's no guarantee that Bud Dupree is going to play in that game. Now, we're hopeful he will. He says he's going to be back. There's no guarantee. And how much he plays, who knows? And honestly, Farley said he's good to go. I'm going to trust him and believe him, but there's even no guarantee that Farley's going to be 100% ready to go. So the defense does scare me against that potent offense from Arizona. But home opener, I know we don't always win our home openers, but I think the Tennessee Titans offensively are going to kill it this year. I think, again, Julio Jones, I know he'll be ready to go from the start. Now, will he be able to go game 6, game 7, game 8? That's the question. I think he will be. I'm so glad we were able to pull that off. But that's a very good comment. Hey, have fun at the game. It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. So I'm not sure what section you're sitting in. If you're like in the 125 over in that area or along the home side, you'll have the sun at your back. But if you're like where I sit, 145 or a little bit over, I think it goes to 102 afterwards, something like that. Sun's kind of directly in your eyes. So, and it'll be warm, but have fun because hopefully the Titans will pull it off. I not trying to spoil it, but I do have the Titans winning week 1. Do not have the Titans winning week 2, though, and I'll leave it at that just because you guys are here. Thanks again for subscribing. So let's go McCann or, I mean, I guess you could go a different direction. I mean, we did it last year. But McCann, or are you going with Hallbill? Which one you going with here? Titans Buccaneers 2020 Super Bowl. McCann is a pretty big leg, if I'm not mistaken. I think they both do Sin City Titan, but that is a good point. He can hold his own. It's McCann's job. Fireval is correct. Going into this, definitely McCann's job to lose. JS75. To be honest, I would like a kicker who can boot the ball from the 50 or 60 yards. Steve says hire Peter Griffin as our kicker. The Roadhouse. Sauce will win. That's the outcome. Timothy Gibson in the house. What's going on, Timothy? With our schedule this year, the kicking game is going to have to be on point. I agree with you. I think the kicking has been way overshadowed, and I think the kicking situation has been the most Farley. I mean, it's been. I don't understand why it's not more of a concern. You go all in for Julio Jones, and right now, I remember free agency and all these kickers coming off the board and going to different places. Titans just kind of did, whatever. I just hope it doesn't come back. And also, you know, with the draft and all that stuff, I mean, you take a chance on one of these guys in the 7th round, their chance is the guy Hallbill from Ohio State. Now, don't get me wrong. I think both these guys, I'm excited to see what they can do in camp. That's why it's a camp battle. But again, he went to Tampa Bay, and he was like awesome. But remember, when Suckup was here, it wasn't his fault. They did not do anything in the offseason when he got surgery. When training camp started, if you remember, they had a punter trying to kick field goals. Paul Kaharski was all over that. Vrabel kept just ignoring him and mocking him at times. And then the game 1 and all that stuff, it was like, was Suckup going to be ready? And they rushed him back. They destroyed an IR spot, which cost Butler later on in the playoffs. Sin City says, Titan Upload just got off work. Glad I'll be able to catch the show. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate that. Sin City, it's always fun to have you here. But yeah, anybody else? McCann? There's Mr. Titan. What's going on? He said, what's up, Titans Nation? We have a superstar Titan Upload back on Upload. Are you trying out for kicker? We need someone. Love you. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for the confidence in me. But no, it's not going to happen. I mean, when I made a 40-yarder, I felt good and comfortable. But then the next time I went out, I couldn't kick a 30-yard. Yeah, not going to happen. Too old. We'll move on. 41-35 Titans. So you guys are talking week schedules and all that. We'll get into that, I promise. Titan Rossi will be with us here shortly at 10:15-ish. We'll see what he thinks about all these. Timothy, if we don't get pass rush on Murray, we're in trouble. Next year will definitely be the draft kicker, for the kicker for sure. Or who knows? I mean, if there's anybody in free agency, maybe we'll have to make a play. You guys don't seem too concerned just from the comments. Seems like you're like, yeah, whatever. And that's totally understandable. We'll move on. I get the point. But I'll go MCCANN here. I will go MCCANN. I'll be shocked if they keep Hallbill over MCCANN. And, if MCCANN goes out in preseason and misses all these kicks, fine. But I think we're just thankful we got preseason football. Let's just say that. And I've mentioned this before. Vrabel has a man crush on Logan Woodside, and it's obvious. I mean, last year I was like, there's no way in heck they're going to keep him as the number 2 quarterback. And I got so excited when we took the kid from Hawaii, and I'm like, after the 3rd practice or whatever it was, they released him. And I'm like, oh no, they're really going with Logan Woodside. So the good news with Logan Woodside, he does go out and get some receivers together, and I see him actually out there more throwing to receivers than I did with Marcus Mariota or Ryan Tannehill. Now, that's not a knock on Tannehill, because we know Tannehill, when he came to the Titans, the one thing that, like, Matthews, the former Titans wide receiver, and other wide receivers in Miami would say is Tannehill obviously lives there, but he would do a really good job of getting with those receivers and throwing. He may be doing that on his own. I think he was a part of the organized practice during the whole sickness thing where the Titans weren't supposed to practice and all that stuff. I believe Tannehill was a big part to that. So I don't want to take a shot at Tannehill, right? We're Team Tannehill here. But I see more on social media. I see more wide receivers and tight ends. Woodside, Kinsey, Ferkser, those guys are really close. They were all at the same camp together. They were at Ferkser's camp. We see them train together all the time, a lot of the times. So we know those 3 are close. But like I said, Vrabel was comfortable to give him the backup role. He's 1 for 3 in his career for 7 yards. It was that fake punt to Nick Westbrook, which was a very good throw and a good catch by Nick in a key pressure situation. So that is intriguing. I want more. Now, Kaiser on the other end, and Woodside's been doing a good job at camp, don't get me wrong, okay? He's doing a good job. Kaiser gets more publicity at camp, probably because Kaiser's more the underdog in this situation. Kaiser came in last year, remember, and joined the practice squad. And then eventually, and it was later on in the year, they did go ahead and bring him back and give him another chance. And for all accounts, from what I hear, Kaiser's been doing a very, very good job in OTAs and minicamp. But you guys would come back at me and say this, Upload, do you remember the Titans playing the Browns? I think that's where Byard had 3 interceptions against him. Kaiser really has only had 1 season. Played with the Browns. He came from Notre Dame, but he played with the Browns. He played in 15 games. Kaiser threw for almost 3,000 yards. Now, the underrated thing on Kaiser was he also ran the ball. And he had 400 and almost 50 yards rushing. And he had three or so touchdowns. But the issue was throwing. He had 11 touchdowns and through the air, and then he had 22 interceptions. But if you go back and look at the Browns team, I don't think it's a fair assessment to blame it all on Kaiser. And the Browns were 0-16 that year. So, yes, I'm sure Kaiser has a part of it, but don't judge a book by its cover, because the point I'll make is Ryan Tannehill. When Ryan Tannehill came into the Titans, many of us rolled our eyes and said, he'll never play. This is just kind of a waste of time. Great. We have a good backup. Maybe it will push Mariota. Remember, the Titans came out, threw their hands up right away and said, no. There's no competition here. Nothing to see here, media. The national media made it a big deal during the year, during the summer. The local media kept kind of laughing at the national media, and a lot of us laughed there too. This is the reason why I have a YouTube channel, is because of the Tannehill hate. I was one that said, Tannehill, if he put up the numbers that you guys are projecting with Mariota, would you give Tannehill the same deal you'd give Mariota? And many of you, not you, but many people laughed at me and they said, that will never happen. You don't even need to worry about it. I go round and round with people. I don't know why. What a waste of time that was. But my point is this. I'm willing to give Kaiser a chance. And I think in the system, he's strong. He can definitely take hits. He can run. I mean, if you think of the system, if you're building your offense around physicality. Physicality. Let me go through it. Derrick Henry. I would say Ryan Tannehill's pretty physical. Okay. But let's skip him for a minute. Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, probably one of the most physical wide receivers out there. Oh, yeah, another physical wide receiver? How did I forget this guy? Julio Stinkin' Jones. That's my point. Kizer, and there's nothing against Logan Woodside here, because I like Logan Woodside. He's a nice guy. But honestly, I'm going with Kizer. I'm going with Kizer. And you know what? Do I feel like if Kizer goes in, can win us the Super Bowl, can get us to the playoffs, having us play 10 games? No. But can Kizer go in to Indianapolis? Can Kizer go into Houston at the end of the season where it's a must win like last year to win the division? Guys, I kind of feel comfortable with Kizer. And yes, we can go back down memory lane with all that crap with big game Blaine Gabbert. But for crying out loud, even Blaine Gabbert gave us a chance against the Colts until he threw that terrible interception. I'm okay with Kizer. I'm okay with him. I'm okay with giving him a chance. So what do you guys think? Kizer or Woodside for number 2? And we'll see what you guys think here. Oh my goodness. Kizer or Woodside? Who are you going with? Let me skip down here to the bottom. You're saying Julio Jones. Oiler Titan says Chandler Jones wants out of Arizona. Again, if that comes down to it, I don't think that would be a dream. Robert says Kizer 2. Woodside, forget the talent because he's miles more talented, but he is a turnover machine. That's a good point. He's a turnover machine. But to defend myself here, Raven, I still think it's coachable. It's coachable. I'm more excited about Kizer. And now, let's be fair, he's had a chance to know the system. He got to be around the practice squad last year, even though it was later. And he's had the offseason this year. He is going to be way more comfortable during training camp. I'm telling you. Don't be shocked. Yes. And Zach Mettenberger, Josh, was 0-10. But if we went back and looked at Mettenberger's offensive line, his wide receivers, his running backs, for crying out loud, I mean, a lot of us would be 0-10. That's my point. Again, Cleveland happened. I know he didn't do a whole lot in Green Bay. He didn't really get much of a chance, to be honest, there. And who blames Green Bay there? But I still think Kizer, again, you can go at Logan Woodside and say, you know what? He's a team guy. He's going to do exactly what he needs to do. But you know what's a funny story too is Kizer's from Toledo and even though he went to Notre Dame, but from Toledo, but Logan Woodside actually played at Toledo. That's kind of interesting. But I'm going with Kizer, and most of you are going for Kizer too. Michael Washington said Woodside, we need a sure thing. I don't know. Michael, I love you, man. But I don't know how you can say that's a sure thing. Like, how can that be a sure thing? Is it because of the failures of Kizer before? And again, I'll just throw out, again, when you go look at Ryan Tannehill, when he came over, I know Tannehill was way, way better. He's played on some really rotten Miami teams, but he's showed promise, and he showed he could do it. Kizer's never showed that in the NFL, but I just like his physicality because I think it fits the scheme more. And with him able to run, you just have to map it up better. And for crying out loud, you guys, we hear this in the national media, like when people rip on Tannehill, they're like, oh, all you got to do is just throw it to A.J. Brown or Julio Jones. How hard is that? Or hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. Why couldn't Kizer do that? And you'll argue, well, why couldn't Logan Woodside? Good point. Don't forget to tighten up that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We'd love to have you here on the channel. Nathan Peterman, is he available? Steven in the house. Laughing. You guys are laughing at me. James says Kizer. think we should trade for Foles. That's an interesting one. Foles or Kaiser. Maybe next week. The shot, I think it was him where he just got annihilated. But he did a really, really good job, and for the situation, I want to say, was he on San Antonio or something like that? He did a really, really good job. But again, that's like the AAF. In the NFL, what's he going to do? Again, preseason, he did okay when he got a preseason chance a few years ago, I believe against Philadelphia. You remember Tannehill outplayed Mariota, and everyone was like, well, Woodside, we might as well give him. He played well too. So he can do well in preseason as well. So we'll see what happens. I think it's exciting, okay? Woodside is way better athlete he gets credit for. Jerry's going with Woodside. Robert says Khalif Raymond was decent. I believe Khalif now is on the Lions. So let's keep this thing going. I told you it was going to be a little bit of a longer show. We got 129 of you in here, 63 likes. So thank you so much for helping us out here on the channel. Great security blanket for Ryan Tannehill on third downs. I mean, he's basically Humphreys as a tight end, but he's also like receiver playing tight end as well. Blocking is a concern for me, but like I said, I'm going to just push that to the side. We get to tight end number 3. And I don't think, like I said, a lot of people are talking too much about it. Now, just because I didn't want to throw in all the tight ends, I know there are really 4 to pick from. Hudson, Pinckney, these guys get probably the most publicity. Hudson was on the practice squad last year. I remember Mr. Tight and I did a whole show on, he was a part of it, Arizona State. I'll get into him in a second. Pinckney guy from Vanderbilt. The story goes with him. Junior year, tore it up, 50-some catches, 700-some yards. Looks to some people as a possible first-round pick, second, third, fourth, really the top end of the top part of the draft, okay? So what would we say? Day 1, day 2 is a strong possibility here. Or early day 3. He decided to come back. And it was just like a crap show for Vanderbilt. It wasn't all his fault. It's just Vanderbilt it wasn't fun. I know he played Northern Illinois, which is an hour from here. Vanderbilt beat them. Congrats to Vanderbilt. They're like 27-14. But Pinckney, who could be a top pick in the draft, like first round, I'm not sure early first round, but late first, second, third, whatever, had 1 catch for 1 yard. And Coach Mason went on the record and said, it's not his show. Like, there was definitely some turmoil. There was a lot of stuff going on. Those of you that love Vanderbilt will know way more about this situation. But he does have some upside. He does have some athleticism. He doesn't have the explosiveness, but, he could go the seams. He's definitely a zone beater, so to speak. He can block. A lot of people were very, very high on him, and a lot of people, he played with Atlanta last year on the practice squad. A lot of people were very, very excited about giving him a chance. Now, the only knock I got, and it's not fair to me, how many of you would go to work when you don't have to? I'll just leave it at that. Okay? I'll leave it at that. I remember getting benched in freshman basketball. How stupid is this? I got benched in freshman basketball because I didn't show up for a voluntary practice, which was never scheduled, was a snow day, no school. Coach decided, hey, we might as well have a voluntary practice. I didn't even know we had a practice, to be fair. And I got benched for it. Not fair. Well, Pinckney is kind of, Jared is the same situation. Like, he knew about it. He just didn't show up, but it was voluntary. So can you hold it against him? I would think for a guy trying to make this team and make an impression, he would go out there like the guy I love, Mason Kinsey. Mason Kinsey showed up to rookie mini camp, and he's not a rookie. Just throwing it out there. He got invited, and he went. Why did this guy not go to voluntary camp? I don't know, but that's the only issue. He has no red flags. He has nothing else. It's just that's one of those impressions that can we really get mad at him and get on him. Hudson, on the other hand, if you want a blocker, Hudson's your guy. If you want a guy like Swaim who can block, but Swaim at least can catch a little bit, what he did in Dallas and stuff. And I mean, I think he's going to have a pretty decent year. But if you want a guy who can definitely block and hold his own, then Hudson's your guy. He knows the system. He's a practice squad guy last year. The problem with Hudson is his sophomore year, I think he had 27 yards receiving. His junior year, I think he had like 66 yards receiving. And the last year, his senior year, he had like 110 yards receiving. He just doesn't put up the numbers. Now, to give him credit, he went up every year. But now we're talking about being in the NFL. Again, going out and trying to be versatile. That's the key. You know, if Ferkser can't block, then why do we want Hudson who can come in and can't catch or can't get open to catch as a fair statement? That's the issue. So, but I don't really care about these two because my real battle is going to come from the undrafted guys. And that's going to be Briley Moore McKinney from Kansas State and the guy from Alabama. Those are going to be the two that I'm going to be the most intrigued with. So I went ahead and did some research for you. And you guys could definitely let me know if you're a Hudson fan, a Pinckney fan. That's totally fine with me. But I'm getting more into Briley Moore, okay, and Miller Forrestall. Those are the two I want to get into. And what I can tell you up front is I think Jared from Vanderbilt, he's definitely more intriguing, okay? Could have been a first-round pick, could have been a second-round pick, then something happened. He went from 50 catches, and then his senior year, he went down to 20. But Briley Moore McKinney's a name to keep an eye on. This guy comes from Kansas State. He's 6'4", 240. Decent catcher, decent blocker. I mean, he can do all those kind of things. He does have a quick release, which is important for a tight end, especially in those situations, to get open and, you know, make a quick thing. Now, the issue is short arms, doesn't make a lot of route adjustments when he's actually in the route process. Like, for example, if I was going to run a curl and the linebacker is shading more over to my side and drops more into a zone to take away that curl, then common sense says I don't keep turning into the curl, then I'm going to adjust and maybe do a comeback. Maybe I just keep going. Who knows what the case is, or maybe running out. He just doesn't have, but that's coachable. He's young, that's coachable, okay? The knock on him, he's got good footwork as well. The knock on him, though, that's going to cost him, I think, and he probably won't make the team, and it's because of this, doesn't play special teams. And when you're talking about a third tight end, and you're talking about a guy with limited special teams experience, it's going to be very hard. Now, the other guy, Miller Forrestall from Alabama, at least with Briley's case, scouts projected him to be drafted 6th or 7th round. Miller Forrestall wasn't supposed to be drafted, I don't think, at all. And many people think he kind of maxed out already. Like, he is what he is. You know, he played on some really good Alabama teams, but he's not going to be, and you know what? He might be okay at college level. He did seal a lot of the blocks for Najee Harris to get outside. He did a really good job with that. But the issue comes in, and he can catch. Like, he doesn't just drop it. But with Miller Forrestall, it's just like he had a terrible pro day. He's just not expected to do much at the pro level. Anything more I have? Drifts. I mean, you never want a receiver who drifts. That leads to interceptions all the time, pass catchers. And his big deal, and this is why he won't make the team, is doesn't have any power. Power, according to scouts, is the major issue with him trying to advance himself to the next level. Now, he is 6'5", 240. Pinckney is 6'4", 257. And Briley Moore is 6'4", 240. So, and Hudson 6'5", 255. So, I mean, on the surface, you're talking, 6'5", 255 as a tight end. That's not bad. But which one do you think the Titans will keep? I'm more intrigued with Briley Moore, but now that I found out he doesn't play special teams, feel like he's not really, unless he tears it up, I don't think he will be the guy. I think they're going to roll with either Tommy Hudson, but if I was the Titans, I would actually go with Jared from Vanderbilt. And even though he missed the mandatory, or the not mandatory, that would be terrible, the voluntary mini camp and stuff, I would roll with him. I think he has the most upside, and you know what, him getting some experience in Atlanta, now coming here, I'm gonna go with him. So let's see what you guys think, and we'll move on. Lived in Texas for 17 years. Mason ruined at least 2 Vandy players. Ferkser, I barely know her, says the Clanky Spoon was a stud at Vandy. Again, I would have loved to kind of know more about him at Vandy his junior year, but man, what the heck happened his senior year? Mark says, if you look at his highlights, he reminds me of Antonio Gates. Pinckney was better. They would probably go with Hudson as he is a better blocker, and they love to go with the 2 tight end sets. That's a good thing. I should say that's a good thing. It's kind of you never want to show your cards, but I think that's a good point Dustin makes. Yes, he was. He showed up to he was at the mandatory. The last couple camps was mandatory. I mean, for crying out loud, even Julio Jones flew back to go to voluntary camp. It's just tough. You're trying to make a team. Is this a real big deal? Have Lamb in a third tight end in a goal line situation? We have an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver to worry about the third tight end. It's going to be, see, that's kind of where this is where I just have a different opinion. And it's nothing against you guys, and it's nothing against that. It's just that you're one injury away. And now, since the Titans do play so many tight ends, you know, you go back and look at this. This will be my last point. You can agree, disagree. It's cool. I know we have a nice mutual respect here. And I don't always agree with you guys. You guys don't obviously always agree with me. But how many times did Michael Pruitt in key situations catch touchdowns or big plays or have big blocks? You know, a lot of people went Jonnu Smith. You know, there was Ferkser, there was Swaim, there was Michael Pruitt. Let me go ahead and count those. That's 4. That's 4 tight ends in key spots at certain situations. That's the tight ends MO. That's what they do. It's their scheme. So, yes, Julio Jones is on there. I get it. But to not even talk about the third tight end when we don't even have a true number 1 tight end. I said it. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Ferkser, he's going to be, when Ferkser is at his best, he's a third down tight end who can get open for Tannehill to find him on a 3rd and 10. That's what Ferkser does the best. And if you go ahead and say, no, he does everything else better. No, that's what the Titans love about him. But now he is going to shift to have to play more on 1st and 2nd down. And I'm not saying he can't, but when you're going across the lead and you're looking at number 1 tight ends, the New England Patriots are paying Jonnu Smith like a number 1 tight end. They even went out and got a number 2 tight end, Henry Hunter from the Chargers, and they're paying him like a number 1 tight end. So I do get a little fired up when we talk about tight ends, because we kind of think that like the Julio Jones, AJ Brown, and Derrick Henry, look how vital and important they could have been against the Ravens. And I always bring up that playoff game, how we scored 13 stinking points. We couldn't get by 10. We had AJ Brown, we had Ryan Tannehill, we had Derrick Henry, we had Arthur Smith, and we could not figure them out and get more than 13 points. That was the first time all year the Titans offense basically took a dump. Returning, I thought that was one of his strong suits at App State, was Evans returning. You know, I thought he did a really good job. I think his average was pretty good. I think he even ran a few back. I want to say he ran back against maybe like Louisville or something. But Evans does have experience. Now, what I can go ahead and give you, they have worked out Evans as a receiver. We've heard that, but that kind of got whatever. And we also know that they've been working him out at punt returner. So I don't know. There's been one other wide receiver that got some chances at punt returner, but I don't know how that's blossomed afterwards. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But this could be a key thing if it comes down to Kinsey and Batson to make the team. And I think a lot of us, including myself, thought Cam was a lock. I don't think Cam's a lock by any means anymore. I actually am going to throw it out there. You guys, I'm going to throw it out there. I'll wait till later on with our next debate here. But Kinsey versus Batson, that's going to be a good one to watch during camp. And if you're still sleeping on Kinsey, I'm telling you, I mean, just don't forget this channel. Don't forget this channel, because I'm telling you, I think a lot of you are going to be really, really shocked when he makes this team. And I'm telling you shouldn't be shocked, because I think it's going to happen. So I honestly, this could be a concern. Now, you guys mentioned third tight end. You're like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. That's fine. But kick returner is a big deal. It is a big deal. Look at Adoree Jackson. How many times did Adoree Jackson cost us key situations? You go back and look at the disaster in Jacksonville in week 3. He was the one that started off. They kept trotting him out there to return kicks. This is not one of the strong suits for the Titans. They kept throwing Adoree Jackson out there over and over and over to return punts, and it was just a disaster almost every stinking time. Even though Adoree did really well at USC. So when I kind of compare this, I am a little concerned. Because even if they go with my guy Mason Kinsey, he's got no NFL experience returning kicks. Cam Batson has returned a few here or there. I know he did a little of it at Texas Tech. Evans, I mean, he returned kickoffs for a little bit. Punts, I don't remember him doing that last year. And he hardly played because he was always hurt. So this could be one of the most non-talked about things, other than a few things we talked about, third tight end and all that other stuff, and kicker. This could be one of the major concerns. So shout out again to Wes from Broadway Sports for bringing this up, because you do make a really, really solid point. So even though we're thinking, okay, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, it could quite possibly come down to whoever makes the team wins this battle as far as who wins the kick returner. So I got to go ahead and give this to you. I'm going to throw you a curveball here. The reason why I don't want Darrington Evans to return kicks is because he's going to be getting a lot of the load on offense behind Derrick Henry. And if they're going to use him in what they wanted to do with Dion Lewis, but if he can actually deliver, and I think he can, Evans is going to be a very key piece on crucial third downs, screens, passing situations. I know he's going to have to block and keep Tannehill upright. And I know that we're going to really plug along with Derrick Henry a lot, but it's a 17-game schedule. Evans is going to need to be healthy and play. Let's get him in here. Boom. There he is. Titans Rossi. We only got one left to go over tonight, and I've saved it for the main event. But I want to go back with you, and I want to talk to you about who you would take in these key situations. So let's go back to the first one we went over. I have to get my list out. Sorry, because I don't want to switch it up. But thanks again for being here. Don't forget to go follow Titans Rossi on Twitter and on YouTube. Like I said, he's almost at 300 subscribers. The first one we talked about was the last pass rush spot. Would you go with Wyatt Ray or Derek Roberson if you had to pick one of them?
Yeah, I was looking at this one, and I guess I would go with Roberson as of this point, because Roberson has showed something, right? I mean, he's especially in 2019, at the end of the season, and he played in the playoffs too. And he played pretty well, So Wyatt Ray, we don't know anything about. Hasn't seen hardly any time on the field.
Did have a sack.
Yeah, he did. But I don't know. I don't really know too much about Wyatt Ray as far as his skill set. Like, I know they're super excited about him. That they have been. Maybe it's the same type of thing like with Woodside. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm going with Roberson on this one, man.
All right, so we agree there. Then we went to, I'll probably mess this one up. I think we went kicker next.
I think so.
McCann or Haybill?
It again, these two guys, well, not again, but these two guys, I don't know much about at all. I know McCann, he's been with us since last season we were working him out, or I can't remember if he was on the practice squad.
Yeah, he was.
So, I mean, at this point, I guess McCann would have to be the favorite. I know he's looked pretty good so far in practices and stuff like that. But, it's a big decision. We know how kickers that can be the deciding factor in a lot of games and really affect your whole season.
That's true. And I don't think it's talked about enough for having a team built to win the Super Bowl. And Vegas starting to come around a little bit for the Titans. And honestly, we, as Vrabel said, no rush. No, but it's like the Titans, I love them. I love Vrabel. I love John Robinson, trust me. But kicking has been one of their struggles once Suckup went down. They haven't really found that long-term kicker. They found Gostkowski last year, but he was never going to be around for the next few years. It was kind of like a one-year wonder. To be quite honest, that was a scary roller coaster some of the year. You know what I mean? Other than the Vikings game where he just went out and made like 6 50-yard kicks. It was unbelievable. But you're right. It is a big deal. So hopefully they can figure it out. Backup quarterback. You heard me. I'm big on Kaiser now, but are you more of a Woodside guy? And who do you think the Titans, besides your own opinion, which we all respect here in Titan Upload, what do you think the Titans will do eventually as well with that?
This one's kind of interesting because, like, I wrote an article about it a while back. Like, what is the Titans' fascination with Woodside? Obviously they put a lot of stock into him because they let him sit behind Tannehill for a whole season. I mean, that's pretty gutsy in the National Football League to have somebody as a backup quarterback who's never played a snap. I don't think he's ever played a snap in a regular season game. I mean, that's pretty gutsy. It's actually kind of weird in a way. Like, why would they keep him on for a whole season as backup? And then, but I'm with you. I'm with Kaiser. If you look at, Kaiser came into the league. He was a second round pick. He started in Cleveland during their worst season in history. I think it was the only 0-16 team in NFL history, right?
The Lions, I think, went 0-16 as well.
Okay.
The poor Lions,
but I mean,
and Ron Marinelli.
Yeah, and look at the team. Yeah, that's right. Look at the team that he had in 2017.
Awful.
I mean, awful. I mean, one of the worst teams, probably worse than that Detroit team.
It was bad.
I mean, they actually had Kenny Britt, which he had
forgot about that.
Okay, yeah, he actually had a couple of TDs and I think he had a few hundred yards that season. But they had Josh Gordon, but Josh Gordon was not doing anything. So that team was awful, and he didn't stand a chance. He did not stand a chance. So. Yeah, the guy's got skill. He did have 5 TDs rushing that year. I think he had like 500 yards rushing. If he can, it just depends on where he's at this point in his career. Can he be a game manager? Can he do what he needs to do to move the chains? Do you want him as your everyday backup? I don't know. Who's left? Who's out there? So.
Once Alex Smith retired, I mean, some of the people were asking about with the trade for Foles, but I just don't see it happening. Or Minshew. You just kind of ride with what you got, and I'm okay with Kaiser, but that's just me. Tight end. We had some people say, Pinckney from Vanderbilt seems to be the overwhelming favorite tonight, but there are some people like, third tight end, not that big of a deal. Does any one of these guys intrigue you, or do you think the Titans will even go off the radar and find someone maybe later on that gets released, or maybe a veteran?
I wish we would pick up a veteran, like I really do. I think we need one. I think we need a veteran presence. I mean, even if he's not catching a bunch of balls, but somebody who's well rounded, you know what I mean? I just think we need somebody like that in that tight end set. Um, I think I do think they're still going to do something with tight end. I don't. The only thing I really knew about Pinckney was what you said tonight. Um, I, I don't know much about the guy. Has he been there for this whole during the off season stuff, like the mini camps and stuff like that?
He
Or
didn't show up for the voluntary stuff, but
okay,
I think he showed up for the mandatory one. I mean, I know he did. I remember seeing video that they put out on him. Again, the thing that with me is they said he was really, really good. A lot of people in this commenting section said he was really, really good when he was at Vanderbilt, but that senior year wasn't like, it doesn't seem like it was his fault. It was just like a snowballing effect with the Vanderbilt football team, with the franchise from the top down. So I'm willing to give him a shot. But like I said, the Briley Moore guy, McKinney, I like him a lot, but he can't play. He doesn't do special teams, so he's probably not going to make this roster. And then I keep forgetting the guy's name, the Forstall guy from Alabama. He just power. Seems like he lacks power, and there isn't really, he's an okay college guy, but he can play at Bama, hold his own there. But as far as like playing at the pro level, at a terrible pro day, doesn't seem to be much. So I would think the guy from Vanderbilt seems to be the odd favorite to be the 3, unless they go with Tommy Hudson, which hasn't shown he can put up a lot of receiving yards, just more of a blocker.
yeah.
So then we went with punt returner. Who do you want to see the Titans? Do you think the Titans have a guy on the roster right now you're comfortable with returning punts and kicks?
Nobody that's really shown much. I think the names you had brought up earlier were Evans, Kinsey, and Batson.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of Mason Kinsey, like you are. You turn me on to the guy. I love his speed, his determination. Like, his speed alone could. I don't know if he's a good kick returner or punt returner, but he seems like he's really quick and has awesome speed. So if he does make the team, I would be interested to see him back there. Batson, he hasn't really shown a whole lot yet. He's shown some speed and stuff like that. And last year he didn't do too much. Evans, maybe Evans could be, but we haven't seen much of Evans either. So yeah, I'm that kind of up in the air on that one.
Yeah.
I guess Evans.
Yeah, but you don't want him doing too much either, and
exactly. Yeah.
It's just, it's going to be a huge issue the first time that somebody's back to punt and they drop the ball, or you know what I mean? It's going to be an issue when that happens. I hope it doesn't, but just like it's going to be an issue when, our field goal kicker goes out and misses a kick. I mean, it's going to come up and it's going to be a concern. I just hope preseason we can feel comfortable. I mean, it was Rashard Davis, I believe, who they threw into a playoff game in New England, who never had any experience returning kicks, and they just threw him out there and they signed him, and he did pretty good in the playoffs. So we know it can happen.
I remember that.
All right, so let's. This is the last one. I saved you for this, so you'll be off the screen, but I believe I can still hear you, and then we'll bring you back in. Here is the last camp battle. We saved the best for last because it's me, right? It's Titan Upload Network, Titan Upload. But here we go. Boom. Mason Kinsey versus Cam Batson for that last wide receiver spot. Here's the thing. Okay, I got I'm going to unmute you so we can hear you now, Titans Rossi. So you can definitely chime in, and then I'll get you on the screen. I've done my homework. Okay, I've come prepared for this one because I know I'm gonna take a lot of heat. Now, this would have been a no-brainer 4 weeks ago. I told you on this very show it was going to be A.J. Brown. It was going to be Des Fitzpatrick. I told you it was going to be Josh Reynolds, not in any order. And I told you, even before we got Julio Jones, Cam Batson. Those were the 4 locks. Okay? I told you that, and that's what then minicamp, and all that happened. And then the last time I was on the show, which was a while ago, but yes, the last time I was on the show, I told you I did not have that same feeling about Cam Batson. So I'm going to start with Titans Rossi before we get into the comparing the two. This is the main event. And I know that you guys are like, who cares? But it is a big deal because here's the thing. Right now, I can't share this just yet, but I will share it later on in the show. I'm going to give you the Titan Upload depth chart for wide receiver. And you guys can laugh at me, but I'm going to tell you where it stands, where I think it stands right now. But the winner of this event probably is going to be the one returning kicks. So if you say, hey, yeah, returning kicks is a big deal, Upload, then you can't tell me that this matchup's not a big deal. Because as of right now, we know that Batson and Kenzie, for them to make this team, even though Cam Batson's made the team before, special teams is going to be a very vital part of it. And both of these, thank you again, West Broadway Sports, made it a point like, hey, honestly, with the most experience, the most returns and all that, Mason Kinsey's the one with the most experience, believe it or not. So just to throw this out to you, Cam Batson, what is your feeling on him? Do you think he's a lock to make this team? And maybe Kinsey makes it over somebody else, but I honestly think these two match up very, very well together. What do you think of Cam Batson before we even get into this?
I don't know. I'm not real sold on Cam Batson. I don't think I don't think he was even as good as Khalif Raymond, to be honest. Raymond had an off year last year. Well, I mean, he hasn't played that much, but the year before we all saw what Raymond could do. But I think it's up in the air. I think that's why Kenzie's there. They want another quick guy like Batson. They need a guy like that on the wide receiver core because all their guys are huge. I mean, that wide receiver room looks massive. I'm super excited about our wide receivers, man. It's going to be awesome to see these guys out there on the field. But I think, I'm giving it to Kenzie. Let's give the guy a shot. I'm excited.
Okay, so I'm already getting it. Majority of you are going Cam Batson. Majority of you pretty much are saying I'm crazy and all that kind of stuff. Okay, this is just I'm just telling you, Mason. Go ahead and you guys can write this down at home. It's your homework. Take notes, whatever. Every year, Vrabel, I'm sure all the coaches do, but we hear more about Vrabel. You remember a few years ago when Cam Batson made a lot of noise? I think he was undrafted free agent out of Texas Tech. Made a lot of noise in the summer, and Vrabel gave him an award. He got some kind of offseason award, and that kind of foreshadowed him making the team, and he ended up making the team. I don't have any source knowledge whatsoever in Titans camp right now to say this. This is all me speculating. I honestly do not be shocked when the season comes around here, training camp starts rolling, Mason Kinsey will get an award. I'm going to put it at like 90%. And that's saying a lot, right? 90% I'm going to say that he wins one offseason award, because from what I've heard is the guy's actually bringing it. I mean, he is just putting it all out there. And again, you got, and TD, thank you for Teron Davenport for finally kind of bringing it to people's attention, because before he brought it up, like, it was only basically me ranting and raving about him. But I'm telling you, I know everybody works hard, but this kid has been working overload. This kid, first one on the field, last one off, those kind of things. And it's getting noticed. And I'm telling you, I don't have any knowledge of this, but I'm telling you, I think he wins one of these offseason awards, whether it was the time he went to New England, then he came back to Tennessee. He's improved. He keeps improving. He's still improving. Cam Batson's kind of there. He's not going to go any better. You see what you get with Cam Batson. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but I did come prepared, Michael. I came prepared for this matchup because I gave it some honest thought. Now, if you look at the actual, and I'll put you back on here, when you look at Mason, 5'10", 198, Cam Batson's 5'8", 175. Mason's younger. He's 23. I know that Cam Batson's 25. Cam Batson apparently at his pro day ran 240 times, Michael. One 4.32, which is awesome. And the other one was like 4.38. Now, where that falls and, at pro days and stuff, I don't know. Mason's time is not better. He's at 4.36. Vertical jump, again, Mason 36, Cam Batson 39. So when you look at those kind of traits, Cam Batson wins majority of them, right? But here's why I'm going with the edge of Mason Kinsey. Okay? And I know a lot of you won't agree with me on this, and many of you have already tuned me out, and you're done. Cam Batson, last year, okay, he's played in 23 games as a Titan, Michael. He's had 20 receptions for 182 and 1 touchdown. He's made some pretty great grabs. I forget the game it was. He came up with 2 clutch plays that were very, very helpful for the Titans. I want to say it was it the Browns game? But we ended up losing the game, but he made a really good catch in the end zone, and he made another toe drag catch or whatever. So out of his 23 games, Michael, he's able to give you 20 receptions, 182, and a touchdown. We got on Corey Davis all the time because he didn't have a catch against the Ravens. If you go back in week 17 when the Titans needed to get the division championship, Cam Batson played in that game, Michael. Do you know how many catches he had, Michael? Against the Texans. Sorry to throw you on the spot.
I can't remember.
You can't remember. You know why you can't remember? Because he didn't have any catches. He didn't even get thrown to. So he played majority of that football game, and he didn't even get thrown to. I'm sorry. If he's going to be the 4th wide receiver, and that's what we're going to get, why do we keep okay with okay, let's just keep Cam Batson. We'll get 20 catches. We'll get 182 yards in 23 games. It's time to move on. And I think the Titans, honestly, are getting to that point. Okay? I have no knowledge of the situation. But again, Cam Batson, I love him. I do think he's served well here as the Titans, but I think it's time to pass the torch and give it to Mason Kinsey. Again, you guys argue there's other guys on the roster. That's fair. But my point to you is they can't be in this discussion because they don't return kicks. They don't return punts.
Catches, and he had a TD in the playoffs last year. I do think it's time to move on. Let's see what Kinsey can do. I mean, this guy is they're keeping him around for a reason, and he went to New England, now he's back here, they obviously like him a lot, I don't know, how many receivers we're going to keep this year. I'm interested to see your list though.
So again, I'm throwing it out there. I don't want you guys to think like I have knowledge of the situation. But I'll throw this out there, okay? From all the stuff I gather, okay, and all the stuff I read and all that kind of stuff and all that, whatever, I'm just going to say this, and you guys will think I'm completely nuts for saying this. Number 1 wide receiver, A.J. Brown. Would you agree with that? He'll be the number 1 on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know some of you want to go Julio Jones, but it might be a 1A, 1B type thing, or 1A, 1AA. It's really, both of them are ones in our eyes. One's elite, going Hall of Fame. The other one's elite, gonna go to the Hall of Fame just a little bit later because he's still got more football to play. But 1A, 1B, whatever, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown. So those are the top 2. Number 3 is obviously Josh Reynolds. We all know this. Josh Reynolds was supposed to be the number 2. And I was like, I don't know about him being a 2. But I'll tell you what, if we could get him as our 3, sold. And luckily for us, John Robinson delivered, sold. Right now, where we stand before any preseason games, I'm just telling you, okay? And I'm super confident on this. I'm even more confident on this than I am just making the team at 90%, like I said. Here's the thing, or whatever I said for 90%. Anyways, number 4 right now as the season goes into the season. And I'm going to back this up because you're going to see it firsthand in Atlanta. Number 4 right now, you guys are going to think I'm crazy. Mason Kinsey's number 4 on this team right now. And I know a lot of you aren't really, I get it. But here's the deal.
Man. I love it, dude.
Des Fitzpatrick is going to be the number 4. But you never just give the rookies just a free, unless they're like, drafted in the first round. You make them earn it. He got drafted in what, Michael? The 5th round or something? They traded up for him, or maybe it was the 4th. One of those where they actually traded up for him. He's going to take time. He's not just going to step right onto the field and be the number 3, number 4 like we all expected. It's going to take time. I actually think Mason has catapulted above Cam Batson, who would have been the 4, and now Mason goes in there. And here's my point with Mason. You don't all play slot receiver. You don't all play the same position when you're going out there on offense. Mason actually can do multiple things, by the way, other than just slot, and I think that's why the Titans love his versatility. But when the Atlanta game comes, do not be shocked if Mason Kinsey is out there. Yes, A.J. Brown's not going to play. Julio Jones won't play, but I bet you Reynolds plays. And it'll be Reynolds, and who's going to be your guy out there, my guy? Mason Kinsey's going to get a lot of work. Now, if he delivers, if he's got to deliver, and I think Sin City Titan said this best in the last show, he's got to go out and ball out in preseason. He didn't get that chance. Somehow, some way, they found out about him in New England, by the way. But I honestly think right now he's 4. And then when you go to number 5, that's where I think you got to pencil in Des Fitzpatrick. But I will say this, Michael. I'm being honest with you. I think they're going to mold Des Fitzpatrick, and probably by week 1, Des would move back into that 4 spot. Mason would fall back to 5 and 6, based on how the preseason goes, of course. But just like with any position, it takes time for you to kind of climb the ladder, and I think that's what they're going to do with Des. So that would bring me to 5. So now there's only one more Titan receiver they're going to keep. And because of special teams and all that stuff, because of not returning kicks, but, tackling and that kind of stuff, I think they seem to like Nick Westbrook. So I would kind of pencil him in at 6. I didn't mention Racy. I didn't mention
decision there, Upload. You always, hey, you tell it like it is, man, and yeah, but no, Kinsey at number 4, I don't know. I think you're right with Des Fitzpatrick. I think they're going to mold him to be the number 4. You know me, man. I'm the time you've got to know me, like I'm all down to give a player a shot, whether it's, I wasn't hating on Tebow. I wasn't hating on some of these other guys out there who've gotten shots. There's a couple guys on our squad that, one of them was a basketball player, the other one was a wrestler. So yeah, I could see Kinsey slipping in there, But you're right. This preseason is going to be huge for him. And they didn't have a preseason last year, So now we finally get to see what Kinsey can do, you know. I'm going to get to see it in person at the Bucks game, the preseason game, which I'm so stoked about. And hopefully we're going to be able to go see some of the practices there too. That would be amazing. But I do think they're going to give – I don't know. I mean, I was a little surprised you didn't put Johnson's name in there. I know you're not probably as sold on him as some of the others, but he has had some production in the NFL, so I could see him slipping into that like 5 spot or even 4 spot too. But then again, that's just going off of what he's done in the NFL. I don't know much about the guy. I don't know how he practices. I haven't watched much film of him. I watched a little highlight video on him. But yeah, no, I mean, it could happen. Anything's a possibility.
Opinion on that one. And just, I'm telling you my confidence level. My confidence level is sky high in this kid. And I'm not just saying it because he was on the show. But if you want to have that opinion, like I said, that's cool. I respect that. Any other takes on tonight? Any other battles you're interested in? We could talk to these guys. Barnes boy, what's going on with Aaron Rodgers? That will be fun. C-Dub says Danny Woodhead. Yep, Danny Woodhead was the one we were thinking of. So,
yeah, I'm interested in the tackle position with Ray Duns and Lamb, and I think Ray Duns is going to be the starter. There's a lot of rumors of us bringing in a tackle that I've read, and but I think we're going to probably Ray Duns is going to get the nod there. Obviously, we hit on pass rusher. We never can have too many pass rushers, I'm interested in. I know, a lot of people are saying our defensive backfield is going to be better, and this and that, but I'm actually kind of nervous about that. We're just so young. Like, other than Byard, I like Hooker. I think Hooker's going to be great. It's just like the cornerbacks, you know what I mean? We're so young there, so unproven, and it's just I don't know. I'm kind of worried about that position. I know that could probably be a whole nother thing, but yeah, I'm a little worried about I know we got some great talent with Fulton and Farley and what's his name, the other rookie guy,
Holden.
Yeah, Holden. I think we got some talent there, but I'm a little nervous about that. But we do have speed, which we didn't have last year, so that's a big plus too.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's gonna. Some of us think training camp's boring. For me, I just can't get enough of it. You know what?
I love training camp. I watch every video. I'm on YouTube. I watch all the highlights. I love it, man.
Well, now you get to participate in expressing your opinion as you kind of go through this. But
yeah,
so definitely go cool. File your taxes, apparently.
Yeah, make sure. I think
go
the
find Titans
over.
Rossi on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Like I said, he's very close to 300, and he's doing really, really well. So shout out to him. But
yeah, man, thank you guys so much.
But
with
all of this training camp stuff, it's easy to say, hey, Ryan Tannehill is going to be the one. It's easy to say Taylor Lewan's going to be your starting left tackle. Nobody's questioning that. It's the guys that make up the roster 46 through 53 that, yes, they may not be talked about most of the year. There's a cat on the screen, by the way. So.
Oh, yeah. My cats are going nuts right now, dude. I thought they were in the other room.
Your cats agree with me about Mason Kinsey. See what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially the little one. He's a huge Kinsey fan.
So, but like I said, we may not hear a lot about them, but during the season at random points, you will. And it is very, intriguing to see how this all works out. Remember last year, in case you don't realize this or you remember this, Tier Tart made the practice squad, right? Didn't make the team, made the practice squad. And he kind of toughed it out all season long. And then they ended up giving him a chance. And he ended up being pretty good. And now he's going to be counted on this season, right? Hopefully he doesn't step on any more faces. But Tier Tart's a name. You know, like these stories that you guys follow, sometimes they come into play. So I'm super pumped. And we are less than 3 weeks away. And I cannot wait for training camp, right? I hope they do open it up to the fans. As you guys commented, we're not sure on that. But, man, you being at Tampa Bay, they'll be open for sure. We can't wait to hear yours and Sin City's. We'll have to, have you guys on holding microphones and stuff at live with them practicing behind them. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do something cool, man. We're going to do something awesome on my channel through your channel. It's going to be really cool. So I'm looking forward, and it's not too far away. So what, a month? What's today? A month and a half. I think that game's August 21st. But training camp 3 weeks away. So this thing is about to get rolling. And just seems like this off season's gone by quick. I don't know why. Usually, man, at the end of football season, I'm so depressed, especially when NFL. I'm more of an NFL guy, but yeah, when it's over, dude, I'm just like, man, now what do we do now? So, yeah, I'm stoked about this. Man, it's so exciting. It's an exciting time to be a Titans fan, isn't it? Like we haven't had this type of off season in a while where we're like other than last off season was pretty exciting, but adding Julio, reworking our defense, man, it's just it's a great time to be a Titans fan.
It is. I mean, we'll have like I mentioned, been working hard at previews, and I'm trying to get all 32 teams. I fell short last year. It's a lot harder than it looks, but I said, the first one I did was the Titans. I'll follow it up with the AFC South. I've already went through the generator with going through week 1 to the Super Bowl. I'll let that unfold itself. I don't want to, spoil it for any of you, especially if you're fans from other teams and stuff like that. But you'll get my Titans official prediction before training camp, probably this weekend. Brad Ford in the house
for a while, but it's cool what they're doing. It's bringing some publicity to Nashville too. They do their little outtakes where they go and they'll go out on and show Nashville and stuff. So that's cool, But yeah, I'm sure Vrabel does give him a ton of flack about that, like all throughout the season, stuff like that. But this year, I think, something I was thinking about the other day. This might be a little off topic, but I was thinking that what Vrabel really pushes a lot, and J-Rob is like this whole kind of mantra of we want players who love to play football, and what I've heard this off season too that I didn't hear last off season was like, this team is like being in college again, being in high school again, so I don't know if that's kind of a new thing with this nucleus that's here. Like I said, I don't remember hearing about it last off season, this type of talk and stuff like that. But we all know, having a good locker room, having players who love to play, it can make a difference in a season, and the camaraderie behind the scenes, it can make a difference. So let's hope they have that nucleus this year.
Yeah.
Let's hope we're not just one of those teams that, okay, we got the big defensive signing, we got the big offensive signing. I just hope that the hype is real. At least the hype from our own selves.
Yeah.
Because we don't get a lot of hype through the media. Now, I will say that there has been a lot more talk about us this season, obviously because of Julio. Um, but I think majority of it has been positive. You've had your couple guys like Coward and Keyshawn and things,
Oh, Keyshawn's the
people like
worst.
that. Yeah, just perennial Titans haters. For whatever reason, they just want to. I don't know. Maybe it's just to say something shocking or something, whatever. I don't know, but yeah. Let's hope we live up to our own hype.
Yeah, you
You know.
made great points with the last year we had hype because we got Clowney. I was hyped. I was
Oh yeah,
fired up.
yeah. We did. We did have some hype there, but
And
it wasn't. It was a little different. I mean, with Julio, this guy's a proven Hall of Famer.
good
With
point.
Clowney, there was always that mist in the air. It was like, I mean, yes, Julio's 32, but the man's going to produce. I mean, don't you think he's going to produce some? I mean, even if he doesn't have some, 1,400-yard year, which he's not going to with us because we have AJ and we have other weapons and Henry. But I mean, if the man can make some huge plays, he can get 600, 700, 800 yards. Um, and Reynolds, we got so many weapons. I don't think you're asking Julio to go out there and be a world beater, and just his presence alone. Clowney's kind of gotten to that point of like, I don't think maybe the hype as far as the media in the league is still kind of with them, especially going into last year. But the hype around the league within the players and the coaches, people will know how to stop him. People know how to deal with Conley now. This is not some new thing. So I think the hype with Jones is definitely a lot more tangible. Sorry I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
No, you're
I
cool.
just think the hype with Jones is a lot more tangible than what it was with Clowney.
Yeah. You make great points. I just the pass rush was always the main concern, and the one
Yeah,
thing we were always told, like, hey, Weather Tales, thanks for subscribing, we appreciate it. But the issue with Colin was like he was never really the sack guy. But what was intriguing was when he was with Vrabel in 2017, he
yeah,
had the most sacks at 9.5.
him too. I think that he's going to have a much. I think he's going to have an expanded role. Um, I think they've already been talking about him, and I think he's going to have a more. I think he's probably going to be more hands-on than on the practice field. There's obviously a reason they brought the guy in. Schwartz is a heck of a coach, dude. He's a heck of a defensive coach. I mean, he has turned some defenses around on a few teams, you know. So and Bowen has talked about him during his interviews. He's talked about Schwartz extensively. So um, Bowen seems pretty. Does Bowen seem? He seems pretty humble to me. Like the way he talks in his interviews in the press conferences. I think the guy's willing to learn. What is your opinion on that?
He's taken a lot. Like,
Yeah,
he got heavily criticized. We've criticized him on this show. And it wasn't anything like, what we do. I mean, if we
yeah,
see
I
a
have too.
problem
I
or
mean,
we want an answer, I mean, that's why we have this show. We don't think we're better than anybody, for crying out loud. Shane Bowen I can't coach defense. Shane Bowen
yeah,
way more qualified than any of us, but I think the issue wasn't so much with Shane Bowen. The issue was with how the Titans handled not having a finger to point at when everything was going crazy and you're 28th in the league and 32nd in sacks
yeah,
and 30 seconds in red zone defense, because that's what it was. And you have no idea who the defensive coordinator is. And Vrabel just says the same stuff. Coach better, play better.
Yeah.
becomes frustrating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was a little iffy towards the end there. It was like, Vrabel was saying one thing, Bowen was saying the next thing, and now Bowen's saying that he's going to have full control this year and things like. There's been little things that Bowen has said, like these little, not like some controversial, like crazy thing, but like there's been little snippets that he's given us where it's like, like it makes me think, was Vrabel a little more the cause of this defensive debacle? I mean, golly, man. I mean, third down defense. I mean,
Awful.
I could go on all night. I could bellyache and complain all night about our defense last year. It was absolutely terrible. But, I do think we're going to be a lot better. Yeah, but third down defense, man. I just remember a third and long. Remember third and long last season? Like every third and long. Holy moly!
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And that play that broke the game open and brought the Ravens back from pretty much the dead in the playoff game was at midfield on a 3rd and 9 when Lamar drops back to pass and the edge rushers overplayed him, which I know it's tough. It's Lamar, and Lamar went right up the field. And that play alone, going with the watch parties and stuff to see my facial expression, that play alone, you just knew. You saw the Vaccaro efforts. Byard missed the tackle. Byard wasn't even close. And it's not easy to tackle Lamar. I get it. But you could just tell that sucked the life out of the Titans.
Yeah, it reminded me of the run that Mahomes had against us. You remember that? Like 50, 60 yarder. And it looked so slow. And it was like, I remember just watching it and just being like, this is unbelievable. Like, it just seemed like the effort wasn't there on our part, and it was just like this grueling. It took like 10 minutes. It was unbelievable. We got to shore that stuff up.
That kind of started the downfall of Evans, because I remember Evans was hurt going into that game, and a lot of people weren't making that big of a deal, but he was on the injury report all week long, and people were asking questions. Maybe he just was on there, but he did not look like himself. And on that play alone, Michael, as you just recalled with the Mahomes, Evans was healthy. Mahomes doesn't score a touchdown. He doesn't get close. Evans, terrible read on it. All that stuff was slow to get out there. And then those guys, they're trying to strip the ball, not strip the ball. Some of them are scared to tackle him because it's Mahomes. Yeah, that was frustrating. But it does remind me kind of the same effort, so to speak, on both plays.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a tough one to take there.
So we'll go 5 more minutes and then we'll call it. Louis says, it seems to me Henry will have fewer carries for having more weapons, but he'll have a higher average per carry. And I think, and Louis, good point. I think what's going to happen with Tennessee is you're going to get, it's just going to be schemed. Like, there's going to be certain situations where you're going to want Derrick Henry to get most of the carries, run the clock, use AJ and Julio when they need them to move the chains. That's what's great about those two as receivers, being physical guys. They're not necessarily, I mean, you could say they're finesse in their own way, but they look at what AJ Brown did last year, carrying the Ravens team into the end zone at Baltimore. And then Julio Jones is one of the most physical receivers out there, how he can go get it. Those guys will come into play, don't get me wrong. But I think there are going to be games where Derrick Henry will get close to 30 carries, and they just feel like that's the better matchup.
Yeah.
But I also agree we have a whole new element. I think 1 week Reynolds will be the star. Another week Ferkser might be the star. Another week it's going to be Henry, or it's going to be AJ and Julio. You know, I think it's going to be a variety of things, but I'm not concerned about it, but I think that's what would be a little bit more concerning as far as if you're in the Henry camp that wanted to get him 2,000 yards. I didn't think it was a good idea last year. It happened. I was so excited for him. He deserves it, but 40 yards in the playoff game. I'm not saying there's a correlation there, but that's when you really got to deliver like he did last year. And it wasn't his fault. They had like 9 guys in the box. Nobody could win one-on-ones besides A.J. Brown.
Yeah, no, it was the play calling. Everything was just off. It's last season. I think we all had that feeling going into that game. Like, man, you know, I just don't think we were very confident. I'm not saying the players weren't, but as a fan base, just because it was our defense, you know, it was like, I think even a lot of Titans fans would have probably said, we're not going to win this game, you know? I was hopeful, you know, obviously I was positive about it, but it was just kind of had that feeling, you know, going into that game that, man, and honestly, we should have won that game. Our defense played great.
They all did all year.
It was like, come on, man, the one game, you know, they played great. And, just the offense was just, woo. And I could get into that all day too. Don't get me started on Arthur Smith calling that game. Don't get me started on the running up the middle, the Eddie George type of play calling, man. I love Eddie George. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I absolutely love Eddie George, but that's not Henry's style. You know, it was. Yeah.
Speaking of Eddie George,
anyway,
Oiler Titan brought him up in a comment and said, you know, Earl had to deal with the Steelers, Steel Curtain. George had to deal with Ray Lewis. Who's Henry really had to deal with? And honestly, the only team to really shut him down on more than like 10 carries, I'm not talking about the carries where they gave Deion Lewis the ball 14 times and Derrick Henry 5, but was the Ravens in that playoff game. I can't recall another time where someone has physically shut him down. Even that Chiefs game, the Chiefs fans will say, oh, yeah, we shut him down in the AFC Championship game. No, you didn't. He had like 52 yards at halftime. And then all of a sudden the lead got huge and then we didn't run the ball anymore.
Yeah, we had to go away from it.
Exactly. So that's the last time we've seen the Titans. So what do? You go out and get Julio Stinkin' Jones. And he looks healthy.
He does. He looks good. He looks ready.
All right. So, hey, thanks again for all of you for taking time out of your nights, even though there was NBA action, all that stuff. I honestly, I wasn't sure what to see. I wanted you all to hear my rant, though, for the wide receiver thing. Again, just to revisit before I go off the air, no disrespect towards any other guys. I root for all these guys. They're all the same. You know, they're Titans. So anyone who makes the team, even Wyatt Ray had a sack on the watch party, I was rooting him on. Like I said, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with this. Like I said, we all have our different opinions and all that other stuff. But thank you for spending your time with us, and especially going through those battles, because I think throughout the off season, or not the off season, less than 3 weeks will be the real deal, the training camp, you will hear more and more about these. Kicker is always going to probably be top of the list, even though no one really wants to talk about it. It's going to be a concern. And punt returner, those are shouldn't be taken lightly. We'll have plenty of shows getting more into the depth chart and getting into who makes the team and all that stuff. That's always a lot of fun. I want to give a shout out to Weeze. We got to get Weeze back on the show as well. Weeze is doing his own thing with Mario. So anytime that they do something, I'll have to post it or do something on Twitter. But I I just want to give shout out to Weeze. Love Weeze. Love what he does. And hope all is going well with Weeze in New Mexico. So shout out again to him and Mario. Any closing comments? Sin City saying to preach, man.
What's up? Give a big shout out to, you might already have, but Sin City Titan, man. He's my dude. We've become friends. He's moved down here near me. We're going to the Bucks game, so big shout out to him. Things are going good for him down here, and but yeah, I'm super excited about the season. I'm excited about the channel. I really appreciate you letting me come on, letting me be a part of the Titan Upload Network. It's been awesome. Guys, please check out my YouTube. It's been going really good. Things are going awesome. You guys have been awesome. You are rocking it for me. And check out my YouTube, Titans Rossi. And yeah, just thanks, man. Thanks for letting me come on, and it's been a real pleasure, man.
No, you're always welcome here. You are part of the network. I do appreciate you always shouting out the channel, and not only with Titan Upload Network, but also with Titans in Truth and Mr. Titan.
Oh yeah.
And Tennessee Titans Weekly, Ken Moore, and GB Talk. I mean, you're just an ultimate team player. And now that you have your own channel, it is a really cool thing to see what's going to happen. There were some people wondering, any words when Titan Rossi can make his appearance for his first live show, or do you not want the cat literally out of the bag?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna, I kind of wanted to get to a certain subscriber amount, maybe 300. I kind of wanted to get to that number before I started doing. I just wanted to see how the channel was going to go, if it was going to garner some attention. And I would love to do that. I would love to start interacting with you guys and doing what Upload does here, and Mr. Titan, Titans and Truth, and all those guys out there doing live shows, Two Tone Zone, all those guys. So yeah, maybe when I get to 300, I'll start, pumping some live shows out. And training camp's coming up. I think what we might do is I'll probably start when the week of training camp starts, and that way there will be more news coming out, more to talk about those training camp battles that we're talking about tonight. We'll see those firsthand. So maybe we'll start doing that. Maybe first week of training camp, we'll start doing the live shows.
The one I wanted to talk about, and it made the list, but I didn't put it up there. Maybe I should have, but it's going to come down to Breon Borders and Chris Jackson. That's going to be a fun one too, because I think Molden will eventually be elevated right behind Christian Fulton, and he will be more used in the key situations, and different pass coverages and that kind of stuff. Whereas Chris Jackson kind of found his spot last year as a 7th-round pick out of Marshall, and they threw him right in the fire when they needed him, and he made my list of camp surprises. He had a pretty good camp as well. So, and Breon Borders, we remember him being like one of the only corners other than Malcolm Butler that could go out and do anything for a while, and then he finally got exposed, got hurt, and then we didn't hear anything from him. So I should have brought that one up as well, and maybe at some point we can definitely hit up the all that kind of stuff. Hit up the other positions. So again, we're signing off. Titan Rossi, again, appreciate you, man. Don't forget to go over to him. Follow him on YouTube. Follow or subscribe to him on YouTube at Titans Rossi, but also on Twitter. I know he's on Twitter as well, and he is constantly informing you who's producing content and also letting you know what's out there and what, so if you're looking for a good follow as far as news guy, Titans Rossi's got that covered for you as well. He likes to have fun with his cats on Instagram too, but I'll save that one for another day. But hey, man, appreciate it. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Tighten up that like button, guys.
Take care, buddy. So that was Titans Rossi. We're ready to head out of here as well. But like I said, Sin City Titan, shout out to you. Landon, your expectations for Reynolds. I didn't want to leave you with a question without it being answered. Honestly, I think he will be one who will get the less attention because there'll be so much attention on Henry and Julio and AJ. Reynolds has done it with the Rams already as the 3. He certainly can do it with the Titans. I don't expect like 1,000 yards, but I would expect him to come up with some key plays, and he'll have some phenomenal games too, where maybe he will go over 100 yards. I still like Corey Davis more, but I don't think it's fair to judge Corey Davis, who should have been competing for the 1, and it never worked out that way. He'll get a shot with the Jets, even though Elijah Moore, I'm hearing, is right already getting close. And then the other, issue is, again, the wide receiver position, with Corey Davis comparing, with Reynolds, who's a 3. They're not the same type of guy. Their expectations shouldn't have been the same, but him as a 3 in the Tennessee Titans, totally comfortable with that. Anything else? Mark, Rude Boy, Robert, Captain Trips, I see you. What's going on, buddy? Wheeze, Brad was in here a lot talking tonight. Sin City Titan, of course. Wire Rat, good to see you. Billy, what's going on with Billy in the house? So Unknown, I think we can go 6-0 in the AFC South this year. I hope so. I'll let you know how that goes down here in the preview video. And then there's Titans Rossi. Great guy. Great follow. But yeah, you guys were awesome. Thanks, Sin City. I appreciate it. Before you head out of here, if you're watching, you haven't liked the like button yet, definitely tighten up that like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and we will see you soon. You'll start seeing the preview videos pop. So I'm going to try to keep them around 6 minutes, roughly. And Titans Rossi had like 10 subs just from this show. So awesome. That's great, man. You deserve it. But like I said, you're going to start to see those pump out more. And then Josh, yes, I did see your comment about Casey. I'm okay with bringing Casey back. Somebody already mentioned in the chat, will Casey want to come back? And I kind of, if Delaney Walker's willing to come back, then I'll at least open the door for Casey willing to come back. But I know Casey left. He wasn't happy. And we can get into that debate and all that stuff. But again, anyone who comes to the Titans, I want them to be able to compete. I want them healthy. And if Walker and Casey are healthy, I would welcome them back with open arms. If they're still hurt and there's still issues going on, then bring in some of these other guys. And again, we didn't even talk about the basketball player from Kentucky. We didn't even talk about the wrestler from Michigan. Will these guys be on the roster when push comes to shove? Bolt Vlogs, thank you so much for subscribing, man. I do appreciate it. So, like I said, you'll see a lot of short films, previews. I'm trying to do all 32. I'm running. It's July, but like I said, training camp starts in less than 3 weeks. I'm not sure when the next live show will be. It'll probably be right before training camp. So you may not hear me live for the next couple of weeks. Doesn't mean I stop doing it. I'm just going to consistently keep pushing out the preview content because I think it is important. But like I said, you guys make this channel, and I could not do any of this without you. So sorry for the delay. Sorry for being about 6 minutes late today. And sorry for not being my normal self on here. Usually I'm pumping out 2-3 videos at least a week, sometimes more. It's just been kind of slow, and there's just been a lot going on. So you guys are awesome. Take care. And like I always say, don't forget to tighten up. See you guys.